Before I get to numbers, owner operators, I have to know, how are y'all holding up during this market condition? Because right now, I'm telling you, it sucks right now. This is probably the worst that I've seen in a very long time. As soon as I think that the market is stable, and what I mean by stable is that it's not going low anymore, things start to get rocky again. And right now is one of those times, because the last few weeks, my dispatcher has been having issues trying to find me decent loads. What I mean by decent is close to $2 per mile. Whatever they get me, it's never above 2.2. The only thing that's keeping me afloat right now is that the carrier I'm with, they have a relationship with a certain broker, and that broker gives my carrier convention center loads. And all the convention center loads I get is always $2.50 to $3 per mile, and I'm always having to haul, some crappy load in order for me to get in position to haul one of these loads. So by the time you add it all up, it probably around $2 per mile. By the time I take that crappy load to get the convention center load, but that's literally the only thing that's keeping me afloat. If I was running strictly off the load board, I would be in a pretty bad spot financially. So I don't know how some of y'all are doing it, and that's because I have a pretty low truck payment. I only pay $1,500 a month. I know some guys are paying at least $2,000 all the way up to $3,000. The only way you're gonna survive right now is to keep your expenses at the very minimum. I mean, I've cut off all extra expenses. If I look at all my expenses, I mean, I've eliminated at least 30 to 40% of unnecessary expenses, because in the year of 2023, I was doing so much extra spending. I'm watching out where I get fuel, the fuel prices, where's the best place, which I already did that already anyways, but now, I'm watching every single penny that goes out my bank account, because times are pretty tough right now. And this is the time that you're either gonna make it or it's gonna break you. So last night I picked up a load here in Cranberry, Pennsylvania. So I got one pickup and 3 drops. So I am going to take some back roads just because the route that it wants me to take, it is a toll road on I-76. And as an owner operator, you're going to have to watch out for them tolls, because they're going to add up pretty quick, especially in the Northeast coast. All right, so March 2024, let's dive into the numbers, see if it was a good month or bad month. Y'all let me know in the comments. But so the month of March, there were 5 weeks, but the end of the first week was only 1 day. So with my carrier that I'm with, they pay me every Friday, and it just happened to be that the month of March, it began with a Friday. So I got paid for the last week of February in the first day beginning of March. So the gross income that I made this month, or the month of March, is not really that high as it seems, but I like to be organized. I like to do it on a monthly basis from beginning to the end of the month. So that's what you're gonna see on the numbers here. So for the truck and trailer repairs on the truck, I had a 0. It is very rare that I have 0 truck and trailer repairs. I usually have a tire, a light, something minuscule. But for the month of March, I had nothing. 0 additional expenses also. So additional expense includes like a IFTA, having to pay IFTA, or truck registration, or something out of the ordinary expense. And the month of March, I had a 0. So we're going to get into fuel breakdown. The average miles per gallon for my truck, which is 2016 Freightliner Cascadia, I had an average of 6.79 mpgs. So that was throughout the whole time. In the past, it has been a little slightly above 7 mpgs, and this time it was just right below 7. And I think I had to do, because I was a lot in the northeast coast, I think I had to do a lot with that, a lot of mountains, a lot of stopping and going, a lot of traffic, etc. And I think that's why it went a little bit lower, as opposed to being on the long stretches of the interstate, like on Nebraska or Iowa and stuff like that. So average cost per mile is 0.56 cents. So 56 cents with the average cost per mile. That's how much it costs for the truck to run a single mile, 56 cents. So the average cost per gallon for the entire month was $3.77. So over the past few weeks, well, I guess the past 4 to 6 weeks, the price of diesel has been going up slightly. In the past, I had liked to be below 3.5 as far as the average CPG is, but and again, I was along the northeast coast. Diesel is a lot more expensive on this side, but I was able to be below the U.S. average cost per gallon, which is $4.02. So my goal every month is always to beat the U.S. average cost per gallon, and this month I beat it by like 25 cents. And you know, so that's the average of the U.S. Because I mean, if you got California, Pennsylvania, you got all these ridiculously high fuel prices. But as long as and I run everywhere, so as long as I can beat the U.S. average, I'm doing good. So the total fuel savings that I had for the month is $382. So I use a combination of RTS and mudflap for my fuel, and I was able to save for the entire month $382. So that was the fuel breakdown. Let's get into the mileage breakdown. So I ran a total of 13,276 miles for the entire month. 13,000. I deadheaded 1,501 miles, which that equates to 8.85% of the total mileage. As far as deadhead goes, I like to be below 10% of the total mileage on the deadhead, because if you're doing above that, then you are doing poor planning. And I mean, I've been there where I have to deadhead like 400 or 500 miles in order to get a good load. But if you're constantly having to do those type of deadheads, I'm telling you, whether it's you or your dispatcher, you are running extra miles, doing extra deadhead, and that's going to eat up your profits. So the total revenue for the month is $27,685. And again, that was like I said in the beginning, that's 5 weeks, but first week that I got paid for doesn't really equate to this type of money. So that was the total revenue. The cost per mile is $1.11. So that's how much to run the business cost, $1.11. So technically, I can haul loads for $1.50 per mile and still be profitable. But I mean, that don't help anybody. So that is the cost per mile as far as the business goes. The profit per mile that I had was 97 cents. So, and the gross per mile is $2.09. So if you average out all the loads that I ran for the month of March, uh, at the end of the month, when I do the average, I was able to do 2.09, which is pretty good. I like to be above $2 per mile. So I do drive in, and how the current market condition is horrible. So anything above $2, I'm happy with it. I'm able to survive. I'm able to keep the business running and able to provide for my family as long as I get above $2 per mile. So that was the gross. So now let's get into the profit and loss statement. And so first we're going to start off with the income. So for the income, the freight hauled is 27,685. So that's how much I got paid for the loads that my dispatcher booked for me. 27,000. Detention fees, $900. Lumper fee reimbursement, $82. So those are extra incomes that are not included in the freight haul. So now let's go to expenses. 12% carrier fee, 3,322. So that's how much the carrier I'm with, that's how much they charge me to be with them. 12%, which 12% of 27,000, it's a little above $3,000. The bank fees and service charges, $15. That's how much Chase charges me to have a business account with them, $15. Next, we have fuel. The total fuel that I spent for the month is $5,827. And part of that is my DEF. So truck fuel, I spent $5,624, and DEF, I spent $202. So that is the total for fuel. Let's go into insurance. The total for insurance, I paid $1,781 for the month, and that's breaking down as bobtail liability insurance. I paid $391. Cargo insurance, I paid $1,250, and occupational insurance, I paid $140. Total office expenses are $68.97, and that includes shipping, postages, software, and apps. Lumper fee, $82, which I got reimbursed. Next, we have total rent. So that includes my trailer rental. You know, I'm renting the trailer from the carrier I'm with. I spent $1,500 on trailer rent. Next, we have tolls and parking. Reserve parking, I spent $36. Tolls, I paid $50, which reserve parking, you know, I try not to spend money on reserve parking, but sometimes, you know, you get in those situations, certain areas that you have no choice but to pay for a freaking parking spot. It makes me so mad when I have to pay for parking, but it is part of an expense as a business. As a company driver, I never paid for reserve parking. I always made the company I was with make them pay for it. But it is what it is. So next we have showers. I paid $17. Again, I try to plan my showers. That way I'm not spending extra money on showers. But I had to buy a shower at a Love's, which I don't get fuel at the Love's, and that cost me $17. Next we have utilities, which includes ELD, internet, and phone service. So the ELD I pay $60 a month, which is the Motive ELD. The internet, I spend $69, which I have AT&T little hotspot deal. And the phone service, I have Verizon, and I spend $131. So total is $260 for utilities. Next, so yeah, there's that as far as the expenses go. So the total expense was $13,250 for the entire month. So gross minus expense, that leaves me with 15,417. But I have one final expense, which is the truck payment. So far, as far as net income goes, I have 15,000, a little over 15,000. So once I deduct my truck payment, which I pay 1,523 per month, that leaves me with a true net income of $13,888.48. So that's how much the business profited. So a portion of that, or those 13,000, I'm gonna pay myself and then cover all my personal expenses. But that's how much I made for the month. Again, like I said, that first check that I got at the beginning of the month, it doesn't really count, but I mean, technically, I guess it does count in the overall overview. But yeah, let me know how y'all doing out there. You know, are these numbers good or bad? Personally, this one of the best months I've had in a while. You know, the amount of miles, the amount of extra fuel that I have to spend, and still able to keep a pretty good net income. I mean, I'm happy with it. I'll survive. Thank you so much for watching the entire video. It really means a lot to me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stay healthy on the road. Drive safe out there, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.